Have you ever wanted Star Wars to be more Marvel and to go through the ups and downs that Marvel is currently going through? Yeah, I didn't think so. But we do have some rumors brewing that might change this. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. Ever since Disney bought Star Wars, there's been a constant comparison to Marvel. Everything from, they're just going to keep on making Star Wars movies just like they keep on making Marvel movies, having multiple Star Wars movies within a single year, multiple Star Wars projects going on at once, and just losing the vision of the whole series. And I think they initially started to go that direction before finding out that Star Wars isn't Marvel. It doesn't benefit from this idea of constant releasing. Releasing a movie maybe even every year might be too much for Star Wars. But definitely twice a year is a little too much.
Yeah, they quickly learned that this isn't quite the way to go with Star Wars. That and Marvel is a very different beast than Star Wars is. Like, you've got comics upon comics upon comics of like different iterations of itself, and I don't know, with Marvel it's so much.
It's like an interpretation of the whole universe outside of the movies that they're bringing into the movies.
Versus Star Wars, which is this core movie series that is
it survives by movies.
That is a vision, like that. It has this like, I don't know. It's got this like baseline of what it is. Whereas Marvel just kind of like is like, we're just kind of all over the place. We've got so many stories going on. We can kind of just move within this weird space of Marvel. Yeah. Star Wars just feels like a totally different beast.
Oh, definitely. And Star Wars, like you said, Star Wars doesn't come from a place of let's base it off of this comic or pull stuff from this. It comes from a place of this is an original IP that spawns so many other things. The movies create what everything else is going to be. It's not this, we're going to take a piece from this comic and a piece from this comic and a piece from this comic and pull that together into what a movie becomes.
This fan service.
Yeah. And their whole model has been like introducing character movies like Marvel, or Captain Marvel, like Iron Man, like Captain America, like all of these different people throughout the comics. They have a core formula that honestly isn't working anymore, but they had a core formula for quite some time on how they made a Marvel movie. So why the heck are we talking about Marvel on a Star Wars channel? Well, there is a rumor going around that Kevin Feige, once he finishes the Secret Wars big Marvel movie and has some free time, apparently he's thinking about going to Star Wars.
Oh no.
So if you don't know, Kevin Feige is the chief creative officer for Marvel. He's one of the big wigs, and also he kind of stepped back a little bit with the most recent waves or phases and decided after the lackluster responses to those phases to step back in and take over the reins much closer. I think he's directly writing a draft of Secret Wars.
Oh, wow.
So that's how far into the projects he's been pushed now that Marvel has hit a little bit of a rough spot.
Oddly enough, that makes me a little bit more intrigued. I'm still very much like, this just fills me with deep apprehension. Like, no, I don't want Star Wars to become Marvel. I've already felt like it's become too Marvel already.
Yeah, that leads perfectly to the question that I have of like, do we think this is a good idea? And I want to start from the positives first. Yeah. What could Kevin Feige bring to Star Wars that would benefit Star Wars?
I mean, just with what you've said briefly about him and him having not much say as far as like the past few waves.
He took us a little bit of a step back in the direct involvement with the franchise. Obviously, he's overseeing the head of things, but took a little step back in terms of the grip, the chokehold that he had over Marvel movies for quite some time.
I'll be fascinated to see how he adapts things in Marvel, and if it makes it any better. Because if it does, then I might be a little bit more like, okay, tentatively okay if this is true. Because
this isn't confirmed.
Right,
this is a rumor someone heard from somewhere. It's like my uncle works at Nintendo, or my friend's uncle works at Nintendo.
I heard this thing.
But I think it's an interesting topic to think about, because I think Kevin Feige has shown that he has a really good grasp on producing movies consistently on a tight timeline and making them very, for better and for worse, formulaic, but also in a way that can be very easily repeated. There is a Marvel movie style that is there and that is inherent. Well, if you look at Star Wars, there's, I'd say for better and for worse sometimes, that there is this broad strokes applied to Star Wars that might not necessarily fit all the time, but lends to something like Andor, when if it was so much like everything has to be like the sequel trilogy, we never would have gotten Andor.
So that could be a good thing and a bad thing if he's brewing a formula. I hope that we see a bit more flexibility maybe in his next wave of Marvel movies, because then it would be like, oh, okay, so he can do something different. He can allow for something else or for like a different experience, but
because that's the big thing with Marvel movies, and specifically Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige and Marvel is a producer-run studio. It is, all of the producers pull the strings. It's not very friendly to directors. It's great as an actor, and it's okay as a writer. But from a director's perspective, they have little to no freedom, and they can't really portray their vision very well. So after seeing, yes, I think this is some of the highlights that you can have with Kevin Feige in the role of, oh, sweet, yeah, he could bring a lot of that consistency and the speed and pipeline that they're able to develop with Marvel. But on the opposite side of things, well, you may have thoughts one way or the other of Kathleen Kennedy. You cannot say that she is not a director first, head of a studio. Almost to a fault. Like, she is so dependent and has higher expectations for the directors and wants them to fulfill their visions, as long as the visions are what is necessary for Star Wars. Because as we've seen, there's been a few directors that butted heads a little too difficult and a little too hard that didn't work out. Gareth Edwards had some friction with her and was able to keep the director's title on Rogue One, but a lot of that was Tony Gilroy that took over. If you look at the Miller and Lord duo with Solo, that didn't go so well and offered creative differences. So there's clear examples of an expectation and maybe not a clear communication around those expectations. But Kathleen Kennedy is very much, let's tell your vision in the Star Wars universe instead of like, let's use your skills behind a camera to give the Marvel vision. Right. Like Kevin Feige has.
Both of them have both of them have flaws, that's for sure. But also, both of them have a place in this world, it seems. Like, that's what makes Marvel Marvel right now, and that's what makes Star Wars Star Wars right now. I don't really know if I want those two things to merge.
And if you do remember, there was an announcement that Kevin Feige was going to produce a Star Wars movie. But Kathleen Kennedy, in a follow-up interview not too long ago, I think it was around Star Wars Celebration, has basically snuffed that out. She said that in her eyes that was not an official announcement. They would love to work with him in the future, but they don't have any plans to work with him right now. So doesn't seem likely that we're going to get a Kevin Feige Star Wars movie anytime soon.
Interesting. Very interesting. Seems like she's not too keen on jumping on that bandwagon.
So I honestly, to close out this video, I don't think that there is a place for Star Wars to become Marvel, and I don't want that. So hopefully this rumor just turns out to be that, and it's just a rumor. But let us know in the comments below. Check out our podcast, and may the Force be with you.